In this video, we're going to configure our Layer 3 interfaces on the appliance. To do that, under the Network tab, let's go to the very top and go to Interfaces. So these are the list of interfaces, and based on our design, let's first configure our LAN-facing interface, which is Ethernet 1/2. So let's go ahead and click here for the name. The first thing that we're going to do is to specify the correct interface type, because we want to configure this as a Layer 3 interface. Therefore, we're going to select the type of Layer 3. For comment, let's input something simple like LAN, since it is our LAN-facing interface. Next, under Config, we're going to change the security zone and add this interface to our LAN zone that we added earlier. That's our trusted zone. Next is the virtual router, and let's add this interface to the virtual router that we added earlier. And that's it. So now let's go to the IPv4 tab, and this is where we can configure the IP address on this interface. Now, based on our design, Ethernet 1/2 will be configured for the following IP address. So to do that, you need to first make sure that the type is selected for static, because we'll be configuring a static IP address. Next, let's go and click on Add. Then let's enter the IP address for this interface, which is 99.1/29. Great, so now that IP address will be configured on this interface, and we're done. Now basically though, you can do other configuration that you want, like for example, if you have an IPv6 network, you could go to this tab and configure those details. We'll do that in a separate video in a later update. And also under the Advanced tab, this is where you can change the link speed and the link duplex for the interface, which by default it is set to auto. You can also add ARP entries here if needed. But at this time we are finished. Let's go ahead and confirm that everything looks correct. So we have the correct type, virtual router, and the security zone. That looks good. Therefore, let's click on OK to configure our LAN-facing interface. Next, we will configure our WAN-facing interface, which is Ethernet 1/1, and this will be the IP address that we'll configure on that interface. Therefore, let's click on Ethernet 1/1. Here for the interface type, let's select Layer 3. For comment, let's input WAN, our WAN-facing interface. Next, we'll specify our custom virtual router of RHVR. Then for the security zone, we're going to select our WAN zone, which is our untrusted zone. Now let's go to the IPv4 tab, and let's configure that IP address. .248.145/29. And that looks good. So let's go ahead and click on OK. So now our WAN interface is configured. Before we can commit the changes of the interfaces here, we must delete the default virtual wire profile. So to do that, we need to go to virtual wires on the far left, and you'll see default vWire. Let's go ahead and select that. Then let's delete that, because we're not using that for this particular design. Now let's go ahead and commit our changes to the interfaces. Almost done. Okay, it's completed. We close this and go back to interfaces. You'll notice that our LAN interface is now up. For the link state, it shows green. Nothing's plugged in yet to our internet connection, but right now our LAN interface is connected. Now let's go to our core switch and let's confirm if that interface is up, which is FAS Ethernet 1/0/12, and confirm if we can ping this IP address. Let's bring up the console session to our core switch. Here we are. And the first thing we're going to show you is how the uplink port on our core switch is configured. Let's quickly show you that. So that will be a show running config interface Fast Ethernet 1012. So it's a layer 3 interface, and that is the IP address. So 99.1 is configured on the firewall side. Let's confirm if this interface is in a up state or a connected state. And it is. We see it up here on the first line that the interface is in a up or a connected state. So everything looks good and matches what the firewall has. Therefore, let's confirm if we can ping the IP address of 99.1. 17.99.1. And what you'll quickly notice is that we are not able to ping that IP address because by default, the firewall is blocking ICMP. So we need to add a policy to allow ping traffic on the interface itself. But this policy is really a profile, a management profile that we need to configure to allow ICMP to that particular IP address. To do that, we need to configure a management profile, and we do that by going down to where you see interface management. We're going to add a new profile. For the name, let's call this RH-IMP for Interface Management Protocol. And below here are the permitted services that we can check. So we want to allow ping. Let's go ahead and check that. Now we have the option of checking enabling SSH, HTTPS, even SNMP, but we're going to only enable ping. So once we're done here, we're going to click on OK. So now that profile has been added. Let's go back to our interfaces and let's apply this management profile. So let's go to Ethernet 1/2. Let's go to the Advanced tab. Then let's go to Other Info, which is right here. And under Management Profile, we're going to select the profile that we have added. And that's it. Let's click on OK. Then let's go ahead and commit the changes. Okay, so our changes are completed. Let's close this up. Let's go back to our core switch and confirm if we can ping the IP again. So once we do that, it is pingable now because of that management profile. And we are finished with configuring our interfaces. Let's go ahead and quickly plug in our WAN interface and confirm that comes up. Okay, we have connected it. So let's go ahead and go back to interfaces to confirm if the link state is green, and it is. So our WAN and our LAN interfaces are ready to go for data communication.